All right, I'm gonna vamp for a couple seconds here as the live streams pick up. But hi, I'm Rob Sanchez, and I'm here with Charles Beckwith for
Hello.
our next Lateral People Lunch. Today we are graced with the presence of Amber Mundinger, and Amber is I don't I don't even know how to describe it. You just are like one of these like rays of light inside of music and everything else, and so I always love having a chance to like catch up with you. But,
Thanks.
it's been a hot minute since we've done anything with you on mic, so,
It has,
but
yeah, I feel like it's
yep,
like pandemic time or something, if I'm remembering correctly.
yeah, yep, right
Yeah,
right beforehand. So, I'd love to just kick off by having you talk a little bit about what you've been up to recently and, kind of bring us up
sure.
to speed.
Yeah, so, I mean, most recently, just started a new role as Global Director of Artistic Engagement for L Acoustics, which I'm really, really excited about, which is, an amazing specialist audio company, that has been around for 40 years. So we can definitely get more into that. So I just recently joined kind of end of 2023, top of 2024. And it's allowing me the opportunity to really kind of like dive more into the pro audio space, which, is I'm not as familiar with. But what I am really familiar with is working with artists and their teams and telling, unique stories with them. And that's what I'm really excited to do here as well, is to figure out what are the types of things that artists and creatives have been wanting to do and the boundaries that they're trying to push when they think about
Mhm.
sound as an art form. So that's kind of everything that's on my mind, I guess you could say, currently, because
Yeah.
really, kind of thinking about the potential there and the unique things that are possible. And then, yeah, most recently, I've spent the past 5 years with Artist and Entertainment as the creative producer across 3 different shows, and the chief operating officer. And so, what has been really lovely is kind of as I was making this transition, a show that I spent several years developing, which is on Amazon called Monumental, just won an environmental media award, which was pretty cool. So it's the special that we did with Ellie Goulding, which we did in Kew Gardens outside of West
Mhm.
London. It's the most biodiverse postcode in the world, and uh, the show's really special because I feel like it does an amazing job of showcasing, her creativity and her artistry as this amazing pop star, but also the advocacy work that she's doing, for the environment and climate change, and that she really, truly spends, a lot of her time, really focused on that. So it was important to do the show in a place that showcased that, and to have it, recognized with an Emma award was pretty special. Um, so that was fun. So I got to go accept that in LA a couple weeks ago, which was great.
It's exciting. Now, during the pandemic, you also started Bring Music Home, and I wanna hear a little bit about how has that evolved? What's that like? What's going on there?
Yeah, so Bring Music Home started, I guess to give, your audience a little bit of context. When the pandemic started, it started as this idea of how do we showcase the humanity behind the live music industry, and how do we show that these venues, independent venues, really music venues, of all shapes and sizes, are are places that are cultural hubs for neighborhoods and for communities, and that the people that work there don't see their work as just a job. They see it as a livelihood, and they're super passionate about what they do. And so we just talked about, let's document what's going on, which sounded at the time like a very simple statement, because who knew what we were about to
Yeah, we'll
all
show up with a phone, it'll be fine,
yeah,
yeah.
and I think we thought, oh, this would go on for like, a couple months. And boy, were we wrong. But we ended up, yeah, documenting over 200 live music venues across 30 plus cities across the United States. We also documented some amazing places in South Korea and some other places that we actually are still, working on the best way to like tell those stories and release those. But yeah, it turned into this almost 300 plus page 9-pound book that really became literally like the weight of a baby. um, and
Yeah.
and it turned into, yeah, an overall multimedia project, which is pretty amazing. So book is out there. It's in its second print run, which is really awesome. And a portion of the proceeds go to the National Independent Venue Association, which we partnered with literally, I think, like within the first 4 weeks of it being formed and during during COVID. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, now we're thinking about, other ways to continue to tell stories like that, because I think, even though we're kind of out of the pandemic, I think institutions like that, which is really how we should look at music venues as cultural institutions, have so many stories to tell. So it's like, how do we think about different genres of music, and then, the different cities that they originated from, and the different places
Yeah.
that helped form those sounds. And so, yeah, I'm really curious to continue to explore that and kind of expand on that. And so, we're thinking about some ideas with that. And then, we interviewed 375 individuals across the music industry when we did the project initially. And so we have a lot of amazing footage, from that we're still, kind of thinking about like what's the best way to tell those stories and do those stories justice, and kind of
Mhm.
not just think about it from a pandemic perspective, but just from like, a music lover perspective, and people in the industry and their passion for what they do. So yeah, working on that. So if anybody has any ideas, open.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a big undertaking that I think we were really fortunate. We had 100 friends, like colleagues, in the industry that jumped in to help support us to even make
Yeah.
it happen, which is pretty special.
Interesting.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Busy.
So you as an executive, as a business person working with artists for companies, how do you connect those two things that generally are like oil and water?
You mean in terms of like working with artists and working with brands, or?
Or and anything in that space of where an artist who wants to push the envelope and wants to do things they've never done before, whereas a business, when it works with an artist, kind of needs them to do what they've done before because it needs to be predictable to generate revenue. How do you align those things, and how do you allow the artist to keep iterating without it scaring the company?
That's a really interesting question. I think like for me, I've always thought about like, how do you first and foremost protect the integrity of the artist and their art, and what is their vision for what they're trying to achieve, um, because at the end of the day, I think like that's the core, at least for me, of like what you're doing and how you're supporting creativity, and how you're making sure that what you do stays genuine, to them and to their art form. Um, and yeah, I guess for me, I've been in really fortunate situations, like even, as a business person, and an executive, like in various roles, to be able to do that in a way where, um, yeah, I'm not really taking anything away, like, from the artist, or asking anything that wouldn't be of benefit to them. And I'm not doing it in a way that, I'm not trying to commercialize them, in that way. I'm trying to find out how I can get their story told in the way they want it to be told on the widest platform, globally, and then looking for like-minded partners that can support that really want to support art, for the sake of art in many ways. And that I think in general can be really good for businesses, because when you support creativity, it many other things come out of that. So yeah, I think, yeah, you're always kind of like, it can be a fine line, but in my world, it's always from what's the integrity of like the creative vision and how do you protect that, and then the other things will kind of fall into place, if that makes sense.
Are there I'm trying to think of this in terms of business stakeholders where the company assumes a certain amount of risk by working with an artist, and the more that they're let off the leash, the more risk there is. And it's the same thing where all these corporations are cutting their innovation budgets, and there isn't a lot of innovation inside the corporation because they can't justify it on the balance sheet for next year, next quarter.
Mm.
Um, how do you think about risk for the companies that you work with in terms of interfacing with an artist that can be kind of a live wire?
I mean, I guess, like, I have not been in situations where I have worked with artists that, um, that I would describe in that way, so
Okay.
I think, you have to know the type of work that you're trying to produce, and really trust the teams that you're working with kind of around that ecosystem. And then, to me, that's not something that you normally have to question in general. And so I've never been in a situation where I've had to deal with that, because I feel like I'm always, and I'm in many ways fortunate working with, just really genuine, great people, and artists that, are excited to be doing the things that they're doing. So yeah, I think like anything, like when, you work with somebody with integrity that's making a commitment, they follow through on it.
So is that more for you about choosing the right artist to work with?
I think it's, yeah, and also like the right team, that surrounds and supports them. Because
Okay.
that's really important. And I think that's integral to kind of anything you're doing in entertainment, you know, is really kind of the whole ecosystem of what you're working with.
So what would be the typical shape of a team that you would work with? Is it like the manager and the lawyer and like
I
what's
mean,
what's the group around them?
literally it's a whole ecosystem just like any business. So legal, creative, label, all of those elements, are all involved.
Yeah.
Interesting.
As much as I can share.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Has it shifted at all when you went from artist in to L acoustics? What are the things that you're working on now that you're more on the recording, maybe like studio space versus the live event, or is it kind of similar?
No, like, as much as I can share, because it's early days, I would say.
Yeah.
It's no, it's very similar. I mean, in terms of, working with an amazing group of people that, really love the arts and want to support and enable that in the best way possible. And I think, looking at, it's funny, like, sound as an art form, I think is sound is like the sense that we all take for granted, which is really interesting, because we're so visual. We immediately, like, we're looking at something, and sound is sometimes the afterthought. Um, So that's been something that, I would say over the past, like, couple of months has been like really prominently in my mind, is like, okay, like, you know, how do you really think about, um, sound in its pure artistic form, and like as just a sense that you're not always that you take for granted. But yeah, it's definitely still, I'm very focused in the live space,
Mhm.
and live performance and the unique things that you can do there, but then also how you can use, really amazing immersive technology, to connect the artist and the fan in a much bigger way and engage them even more emotionally on both sides. So that's something that I'm excited to spend a lot more time on moving forward.
What are you thinking about, like, what's coming down the pike? Because I feel like we're in this weird moment where everything we've taken for granted shifted, and now we're kinda, like, starting over.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like, opportunities that have opened up. So what do you think is coming as far as, like, opportunities inside of the music space?
Well, I think, I mean, you've, have both of you been to a show since the pandemic? I hope.
Not since the pandemic, no.
What?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
that's
like
Let's put
crowds.
it this way.
uh
Yeah. My first concert was Britney Spears, The Beach Boys, and Tim McGraw at the Pendleton
What?
Roundup.
I
Yeah.
love this
And
so much.
to say it was weird was an understatement. And,
What a like, what
and
an amazing lineup.
yeah, I don't know how they got all of them to agree. And
Yeah.
and it was insane. And, but, like, I've never been a huge live music for the same reason that Charles said. It's not typically a space I feel comfortable
Mm. Because
in.
of,
So,
like, because of the crowds? Is that part of it?
um, for me, it's just sensory overwhelm. I shut down.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting. Huh. Yeah.
Um, so when I, listen to music, I like to not move, or I'm using music to, like, distract me from something.
Mm.
So,
Okay. That's interesting, because yeah,
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like, yeah, like, so many people wanna just be in the live experience, you know?
yeah.
Do you feel the same way, Charles? And
Uh,
what have you
yeah,
seen since coming out of the pandemic? Like, what's a show that you've been to?
Oh, you know what? I did go to it. I completely forgot. Sorry.
uh,
Clearly made a huge impression.
what did you see, Rob?
Jason Mraz at the Forest Hills Tennis Stadium. I forgot when that was.
Oh, wait, that was
Um,
last year, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Julie and I went, and, we go to that stadium I love because I can
that's
be
one of my
way
favorite.
back up. We sit way up high, and it feels comfortable, and it's open air, and it's a neighborhood that I've lived in for like 10 years plus.
Yeah.
So that is really comfortable.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah,
amazing, a really, really amazing, music venue. It's one of my favorites. You know,
yeah,
that space is really cool because the history of the tennis club is really unique, and then the fact that, that venue wasn't being used for a really long time, and then they
yeah.
renovated it, and it's probably, in
It's
terms of,
amazing.
yeah, the capacity of a space like that and how intimate it feels, it's
Yep.
really, really special. And yeah, that Jason Mraz show, didn't that have a symphony with it?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
it was really cool. It was a backing symphony instead of his typical band, and
yeah,
it was awesome.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
but and in, like, a subtle way too. It wasn't like we've seen a lot of shows there. We saw James Taylor there.
mm,
Um,
yeah,
and yeah, it has a great feel, but it lends itself to acoustic performances
yeah,
and
it's,
to symphony performances.
but I feel like you can see anything there, and it's, like, amazing. Like, I love, the band Fontaines and, Arctic Monkeys, and I saw them there last year, and that was, like, just such a crazy, awesome show. Totally different crowd from what you went to.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, I think, I mean, for me, like, and I wanna hear, Charles, like, what you've seen recently, but I think what we've seen like since then is that everybody wants to be back in experiences again. And because, you know, we didn't know if they were going to come back for, for a
Mm,
while, and we took that for granted. I think like we realized when we were in the middle of the pandemic, or at least I did, like many of us, it was like, oh wow, like those shows that I got to go to, like, will that ever happen again? And so um I think, in terms of like live, it's been back and like bigger than ever. And and I just feel like every time I get to see an artist, I feel so appreciative, of that experience. Also because
yeah.
I feel like, it was that was so hard for everybody, but also like imagine like during like 2020 and beyond, like the artists that were performing on like live streams and things like that on,
Mm,
on IG Live. And these are the people that like were still giving their creativity in the midst of a time where they didn't know if they were going to go back on tour again,
yeah.
which is pretty insane. So, but Charles, what was your show?
Well, always want to be backstage. I don't like sitting there the whole time. I want to walk around and see it from different angles.
Mhm.
Um, but I think at Christmas time, I went with my parents down in South Carolina to it was a show where there was a abbreviated short one-man performance of A Christmas Carol,
Oh,
and a musician from Myrtle Beach, I can't remember his name, but he wore this crazy Christmas suit that was like 10 different kinds of gift wrap. But
oh,
it was like a nice suit made of 10 different kinds of gift wrap. It was bizarre. Uh, and he had this ability to riff on music where he could switch from like Jingle Bells and turn it into an Elvis song, or make it a Mariah Carey song, and just shift the way the music was played on the piano
that's
where
fun.
it was both songs.
Oh, so he was doing like a mashup, basically.
He was doing mashups on the fly, and I don't know how a brain would do that. I didn't
That's
connect with
really, yeah,
what he was doing and how he was doing it, but it was amazing.
that's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's such a talent, to be able to do something like that. It's
and
so crazy.
he just I guess had it's not the Grand Ole Opry, it's the Carolina Opry here
Okay,
in Myrtle Beach, and he was connected to that for decades apparently, and was just one of the regulars who would
cool.
come in and do a show with lots of other people, and he'd, work with other artists and kind of support them as they came in from out of town. He was kind of the Myrtle Beach anchor, I guess.
Huh, that's really
And
cool. So
I
he was
can't
like,
remember his name, but yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
he literally was like part of the OG of the
Yeah.
of that location, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where that, like, history really comes in. Um, I was thinking, so the show that has been my favorite ever, I don't know if I
Yeah,
ever
like,
told you
what's the
about
most
this, but
epic show you've ever seen? I
the
would love to know
the
this.
best one was in the basement of Carnegie Hall with James Taylor, and he had every guitar he had ever owned, and he told us what he wrote on it, and he played it, and then he would move on to the next one, and he gave his life story.
Wow.
And it was insane. Just like, and that's somebody I've seen him in concert 4 or 5 times now. He's the only, like, him and Jason Mraz are the only, musicians that
Yeah.
I've seen multiple shows of. And it's a little sad to see, like, you can see him slow down as he gets older.
Yeah.
But that show where he's like, "Yeah, and then I was driving down to see, whoever, like, my nephew James," and he's like, and he pulls out the guitar, and he's like, and he's just telling the story of driving and how the melody popped into his head and what he was feeling and what was going on in his life, and that was amazing.
But
I
isn't
love
that the
that when
coolest that
it's
you're, like,
yeah.
getting into you're getting into the artist's head, in terms of
Yeah. Yeah.
you're really getting to hear like how they created a song, or
Yeah.
what inspired them, to create that song. And like that is like, yeah, to your point,
Yeah.
like it's such a beautiful thing to be able to go to shows like that where they
Yeah.
give you in many ways like that gift of giving you the contexts, like, and giving you like a view into their process. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
like so surprising, like something that can trigger, a lyric or, a whole song or, whatever. So that's really fun.
Yeah.
Also, that's crazy that that was in the basement of Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, what is it, like Zager Hall or whatever? It's the one where you, like, go
Oh,
down
yeah,
in
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah,
and it's, like, down below everything, and yeah, it was phenomenal.
so
Um,
cool. I love that.
and I didn't even have a ticket. A friend was like, "I can't make it. Do you want my ticket?" And I was like, "Of course."
So this is a free James Taylor show
Yeah,
is what you're
yep.
telling me. It sounds like it was like like it was almost like MTV Unplugged or something, but at Carnegie Hall for
He's
James.
in my garage if you wanna go.
I'm from North Carolina, and my aunt is from North Carolina, and she grew up with James Taylor going out to the beach and hanging out at night in high school.
Oh my God, I love that. So fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think like I feel like it's so hard to pick like one show, that because I feel like I've been really fortunate to like get to see so many. I mean, one of the things that I thought was probably one of the most amazing experiences that I've had, and is part of the reason, why I'm, in my new role now is when Artist Den released Soundgarden Live from the Artist Den a couple years
mhm,
ago as a deluxe live album. Um,
yeah,
and we released the extended cut of the show that was originally on PBS. So that show was cut down to an hour. The original show was 2.5 hours, and fans knew that we had this really, super special, amazing show that, only people that were at the Wiltern, those couple of nights and that night that we filmed it would have experienced. They asked
yeah,
for us to release it. And so I actually was trying to figure out how do you bring that show back to the live experience in music venues.
mhm,
And I actually partnered with L Acoustics to do that. And so we did a show at the Wiltern in LA and at Brooklyn Steel here in New York. And we sound mapped each of those music venues and brought in immersive technology. It's called
mhm,
Elisa. And we did 180-degree screens. So we showed the full 2.5 hour concert, but we took the original audio and it was being live mixed with the audience that was there. And
ah,
that was so special because you were taking a show that, was from a few years before that. You were bringing it back into the live concert setting, and fans were doing call and response, even though the
mhm,
band wasn't live, because the sound was so real. Like it was in many ways like, I hate to say this because I love like, always listening to like, artists performing live, but it was also in that case like that couldn't happen. And it
yeah,
was almost better than the original just because of the quality and the way that that was done. And it was like such a special way to be able to bring that back for fans for one
yeah,
night in each of those cities. Um, and that was really fun. I love watching audiences, and seeing people's reactions. Um, and yeah, and I actually, another one would be ABBA. I just saw ABBA Voyage in London, and that was spectacular because, that is their holograms, and they have a live band backing them, and it's 3,000 people that are in the audience. It's a full
mhm,
concert, 90 minutes, and it feels so real. It's crazy. Like the
yeah,
first to, first couple of songs, you're like, I think your brain is just trying to comprehend like what's going on, and oh my gosh, they're like standing there, they're right in front of me, they're performing, they're like engaging the audience and talking on stage. And then like 3 or 4 songs in, you're just like, this is ABBA, like, and they're here, and
Yeah.
let's go. And everybody's just like dancing and reacting to them, and they look so real. It's amazing. And I think those are the types of things like that are really exciting to me, to your like what we were talking about earlier, is like
Yeah.
this is how far you can take things now, in terms of just the amazing opportunity in terms of like technology and like the visuals and the sound aspect of everything, and how you can give people this amazing entertainment experience with
Yeah.
their most favorite current artist and the artists that they've just always loved. um so that was a really cool thing that I got to see about a week ago, which was super special.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really
Um,
fun. Highly
yeah.
encourage if you can go see that. I was like, this is, my mind was blown, that
Yeah.
this is something that we can do now, um, which is pretty special. And I know that there was, I think there was an article, it might have been in Variety, that uh, they're looking to do something similar with Elvis, which would be pretty. I mean, I feel like fans would go
Yeah.
crazy.
If they can do his old In the Round
Mhm.
shows, that would be
Oh my gosh,
insane.
can you
Yeah.
imagine? Like, how cool. So, yeah,
Yeah.
there's just, like, so many, like, so many interesting things, like, I think, talking about how, like, live shows are more popular than ever, and people just wanna be able to kind of celebrate being connected with each other and listening to their favorite artists and having those experiences. But then you can also, you can now experience artists that you've always loved in new ways that are also live shows, which is pretty crazy. I mean, like
Yeah.
the fact that like we've come, this far, in terms of like that technology and the possibilities and all of that. And obviously there's so much more, to kind of test out and experience. But I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff like that coming out that's just really amazing to see from an
Yeah.
entertainment aspect.
I
Yeah,
remember a couple years ago. Oh, go ahead, Charles.
well, I've been experimenting a lot with generative images, um, and what's going on with like stable diffusion and that sort of thing. It's There's change every like 2 weeks. There's a new model
Yeah.
to play with, and the pace is insane of innovation in the AI space. But I think about, we've got all these old recordings of artists that wouldn't necessarily hold up if you tried to make a hologram out of them. But if you applied
Like
certain AI
Sora.
technologies,
Yeah.
Mm,
yeah, it can expand what was captured, and you edit the expansion
Mhm.
and just kind of teach it, you know, no, don't go that way.
yeah.
And it starts to be able to render something where it knows, on the 12th frame, it's a clearer image of the skin than on the 30th frame. So now the 30th frame has perfectly clear skin, So it's interpolating between all these data points, and it's just basically
Yeah.
recreating reality, or at least this idea of reality,
Mhm.
with fractals and all that sort of stuff, where it's, well, if this is true, this is also true, and it just keeps going with that. And the possibilities are kind of amazing, where if you have a concert maybe from the 1940s that
Mm,
was just recorded on 16 millimeter with half decent sound, maybe that could get to that level
mm.
because AI can pull
Yeah.
it out.
Have you
Yeah,
seen the Sister Rosetta
interesting.
Tharpe performance at the railroad station? I don't know if you
I don't
she's
think
one
I
of
Yeah,
yeah,
so she's one of my favorite performers, the godmother of
yeah.
rock and roll, and, there's it's her, the audience is on one side of the station across the tracks, and then she's on the other side playing electric guitar.
Mm.
And it is just like mind-blowing to see and just like it's an amazing experience to see. If you could be there, that would
Mm.
be amazing. And you're seeing the formation of what we take for granted as like music today. And that's why I love that old footage. It's like she is going and like doing things with a guitar that up until that point people didn't do.
Yeah, true.
And just like you're watching it happen. And I don't know when that was shot. It probably was in the 40s or like it
Oh,
was a long time ago, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely it was, it was a long time ago. Yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting, like, it's like that balance of, like, how do you because, you part of an artist and their creativity is, like, you keep the imperfections and, like, the originality of who you
Mhm.
are, So I feel like that's, like, all of the fight and the discussions and, like, the back and forth that we're seeing, like, with AI, um, and in general. But also if you could recreate, to your point, like, these moments where you could bring somebody back, like, immerse them in that experience of,
Yeah,
like, something like that, and seeing her, like, just being in front of her, like, playing her guitar in
yeah,
that way, like, how cool is that, you know?
yeah.
So yeah, it's like
I think
this
that would be a lot.
delicate balance of, I mean, I know that, like, so far with, like, a lot of, like, with the ABBA stuff, for example, that, Bjorn, like, from the band was, like, highly involved, and I think you can tell in the nuances of, like, how, like, the banter back and forth and stuff like that, so it stays, like, really, really authentic,
Yeah,
to them as artists, and, um so yeah, I think it's just finding that balance, because it's definitely an interesting time where we're getting to, like, push a lot of different boundaries, and then it's like, okay, well, how far do you take this? You know?
yeah,
'Cause at the end of
yeah,
the day, you wanna keep, like we wanna keep creating original things, like, ourselves as, human beings, so, how do we do that and also use technology to enhance it?
yeah. It feels to me a little bit like when you had Andy Warhol and he was experimenting with print.
Mm,
And
that's a
and
good
at
point.
the time, it was like, this isn't a real art form because it's replicating, and then but no, it was, and
Mhm,
it spurred this whole movement of expression. I feel like that's kind of what's happening here. I
mhm.
listened to a really amazing NPR special on one of the first digital artists who
Oh,
was doing generative AI in the '80s, with,
interesting.
drawing, and he taught the machine to draw, and it actually looked like pin marks on and, I wish I remembered the name, but unfortunately, I don't hold those. But I'll find the link and put it in.
Yeah, I
But,
would love to see that.
at the time, everyone was like and still today, people are like, "That's not art." But it's like, well, no, he wrote the computer code.
Mm,
This didn't
yeah,
exist until he expressed it as a form of commentary on art.
mm,
So so
yeah,
it's like a different layer, and it becomes really interesting because it's like that the technical ability to express what's in your mind
mhm. Yeah,
versus like, "Oh, I'm just letting a machine run,"
right.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I would love to listen to that, so definitely, like, share that link
Yeah,
'cause
I'll find it.
that's interesting.
It's somewhere.
Yeah,
Um,
like, it's somewhere in my list of the many things that I
yeah, I know what time I was driving, so I'm sure I can track it down.
I love
Um,
it. Well, it feels like too, you guys need to, go to more shows. Just saying.
yeah, yeah. I was invited to a show, and now I just need to figure out where to stash the kids
There
so
you
we
go.
can go.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, definitely, like, to your point, like, you saying, like, you don't wanna be in, a crowd or whatever, like, because I definitely can
Yeah,
understand how for some people, like, that is a really, really overwhelming experience, Um, but I feel like that's the beauty of, different sizes of venues and styles of,
Yeah.
experiences, that you can still go see something live, and you can do it in a way that makes you feel your happiest and most comfortable, like maybe you don't want to be at a giant festival with 100,000 people,
Yeah.
but maybe like to like see a show in the round where 100 people are there and it's seated and it's super intimate, um,
Yeah.
and that's also one of the things that like I love about New York, is that you can
You can
do
find it.
all of the things and find it, which is the coolest. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. Anything's better than so we've talked about best shows. The
Yeah.
worst show I've ever seen
Oh yeah.
was
What's
I was in an Alice in Chains cover band in high
Oh
school
wow.
for a little bit, and I played bass guitar, and I did not know how to play bass guitar, and if you panic and start
You
playing
played
at twice the
you
speed you're
didn't
supposed to,
you
the
didn't
bass
know how to
line, if
play.
doubled, works.
That's amazing. What confidence, first of
Oh,
all,
man.
to be like,
I would do anything, like, I was kind of overcoming a lot of fears in high school, so
"Oh my god, I love that."
yeah. But, yeah, it's like I used to play violin, so people were like, "Well, it's a stringed instrument, I'm sure you can pick it up." And I'm like, "Sure, why not? Let's do it."
Very not similar, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's close.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah,
I feel like
so
the the worst experience I ever had was, mostly I felt for the artists because they were so frustrated and didn't
mhm,
it was went to see Jack White at Radio City Music Hall, and I've seen a lot of great shows at Radio City, but I don't know what happened, but there must have been like some, technical issue, and you just could not, like, as an audience member, hear the songs correctly. Like, it was
uh,
the sound was really, really not good, and he just stopped, and he just said, "I'm not playing anymore." And
uh
that was the end of the show. And so it was more
Wow.
like one of those things where I guess it probably wasn't the worst show that I've ever experienced, but I feel like for him, it was had to be
Yeah, yeah,
so horribly frustrating because you have this amazing event, like, like sold out live show, and then you can't even perform your songs to
yeah,
the ability that you would want them to because of something that was,
yeah.
going on in the background.
It reminds me of the artist who has Tourette's, whose name I'm not remembering, but he was
Oh,
performing he went out of tour so that he could basically rest for this one concert, and
yeah,
then ended up having tics so bad halfway through that he couldn't finish, and the audience sang all his songs, but I don't remember his name.
that was during Glastonbury, I wanna
Yeah,
say, and that was, I'm looking right now because I love him, he's such a great
yeah,
artist,
incredible artist.
um, and yeah, that
I think
was
that was the last live show he did, but he
yeah,
wasn't able to finish. Um,
it was Louis Capaldi, yeah,
yeah, yep,
and he's such an amazing artist, and I think what was really special about that, to your point, was that the fans jumped in and they sang the songs, which I feel like for the fans and for the artists, like what an amazing emotional connection. But also like I think it was also an amazing like moment of showcasing like, everybody has mental health or, like
yeah,
different issues and this is like what everybody's dealing with in life. And, like to your point, like after that, he chose to like, take some more rest because it's, like something that like he thought he was ready for. And I think it was a really beautiful moment and like such a beautiful way that played out in the most positive way, because also like how scary as an artist that has such a huge following to get on stage and you're already bearing
oh,
your soul
no, yeah,
performing, and And then, to be in that situation, like what courage,
Yeah.
um, between him and the fans, which is pretty special. So
Rob,
yeah.
Rob, who was the artist that you were mentioning earlier that was very early rock and roll?
Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Okay, I've been sitting here for 10 minutes trying to look up Mom's Mabley, thinking I was looking for the right person.
No.
I love it.
I couldn't find the concert where Mom's Mabley performed in a railway station, and
Yeah.
And now you know why. Yeah.
Now you know what.
Because wasn't there a connection to Elvis? Am I making that up?
For Sister
in
Rosetta
terms
Tharpe?
of influence, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm just looking actually because the Yola, who's an artist that I absolutely love and has the most amazing voice, highly recommend that you check her out. She played Sister Rosetta Tharpe in the Elvis, Baz Luhrmann's film.
Okay.
And her voice is just mind-blowing. Like if you love like Sister Rosetta Tharpe, like go listen to some Yola just in general, because what
Definitely.
a powerful voice,
Yeah.
for somebody like in this, today. But she's from the UK and she actually is based in Nashville now. But yeah, it'll blow your mind. The first time I listened to her live, it was like in front of 20 people maybe. And
Yeah.
I had like goosebumps all over. I was just like, this person is so special. Like, what a crazy voice,
Yeah. Oh,
So-
that's amazing.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe, live at the train station was 1964.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
60s. Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking at Mom's Mabley, I noticed that she did a concert at Sing Sing prison before who's the Man in Black?
Johnny Cash.
Before Johnny Cash did Folsom
Oh yeah.
Prison. Yeah. So she did it before he did. I wonder if there was an inspiration that he got from her.
Maybe. Yeah, seriously. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Like that would be a cool one to like, research and go down the rabbit hole for.
Yeah. Now, are you a musician, Amber? Do you play anything or do you sing?
I play some ukulele, like not very well. But my husband is an amazing musician. So he plays guitar, piano, like literally like, I mean, multiple instruments. So we have I play a little bit, but like not well. And then he plays like everything really well. So it's balanced in our family, but we have like 8 or 9 guitars. We would definitely have more if if I was like, okay, let's just pile them everywhere. We have a piano, all kinds of stuff. So it's fun. And I feel like we get to hang with a lot of people that are amazing musicians, which is really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know Rhiannon Giddens?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I when you were talking about guitars, that popped into my head because like everybody in my family loves guitar, and even my kids have their own guitars.
Oh, really?
Like real ones, yeah. Like their
Amazing.
grandpa bought them for them, and my dad collects guitars but doesn't play them. But for
Really?
whatever reason, he gave me a banjo. So that's my instrument.
So cool. I mean, banjos are super
And
cool. Yeah, we don't have
yeah,
a banjo. We have a mandolin and a couple other
yeah.
things, but yeah, I actually would love if we would have a banjo because the sound is so
It's
fun.
happiness. It's
Yeah.
pure happiness.
It's such like a
It doesn't matter
vibe,
what you're
like, and I feel like if you pull out a banjo at a dinner party, people are like, would be like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So one of my life goals is to play Moonlight Sonata on the banjo
All right,
because
let's do this.
it's so similar to the harpsichord in sound.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so it has that like it has an authenticity to it that you don't really get on anything else. But
Yeah, that's super cool. Well, you've got to do this. Come on. This is like a
um,
2024 goal. I feel like you can make this happen.
I don't know. I don't know. I've made it through once. I
See?
made it through one time, but
You're
it's
already like on your way.
tough.
So, yeah. Charles, do you play anything?
No, I've never been very good at playing an instrument, but I sing. I used to sing a lot more. I was in the Raleigh Boy Choir, and we toured Europe, and
Cool.
I missed it. The boy choir went to the White House, but I wasn't in it. It was like the year before I joined and the year after I left. So
So annoying. You're
yeah,
like, come
Yeah,
on.
but
yeah.
we had it was interesting. We did Christmas concerts, and we sang at the U.S. Embassy in Belgium and toured around Europe that was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah,
fun. I've always thought a cappella groups are like
yeah.
one of my favorite things just to listen to as
And
well.
that's
Like,
what Julie was into.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
So my wife was in Women Rhythm and Proof of the Pudding at Yale.
Oh,
So
cool.
she's done world tours for that, and she was one of the soloists, and like just insane voice.
Bury the
So
lead.
yeah,
What?
yeah.
I had no
So
idea. That's amazing.
yeah, yeah, she's crazy, and what she does now, I love it. She does psychic like life purpose readings. I think you might know
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Um, and she has started doing meditations where she gets people into a meditative state, and
Hmm.
then she sings a song that will trigger something inside of them. So
Oh,
it'll be a pop song or like, from Greatest Showman or, you know, like anything like that, and but the idea is to, like, you're already thinking about something and you're already meditating, so your mind is calm, and then when she
mm,
starts singing, it it shifts the way that you're meditating.
that's
So it's like
interesting.
it's one of the coolest uses of music that's weird that I've seen
Yeah.
recently.
But that's super
Uh,
cool. I mean, also it's
yeah,
kind of like goes in the vein of, like I think um just thinking about music as therapy in general.
yeah,
And, I have a friend who is a great DJ Hester Prynne, and she's doing a lot of really cool things with DJ sets and how they can
mhm,
take you on an emotional journey to process different things. And I
yeah,
feel like all of that is so cool, to explore and becoming like a lot more like commonplace, like in
yeah,
like, the best way possible. Like, from a trend perspective that people are like, yeah, I want to go to, like buy a ticket to a DJ set where I can explore my emotions, around other people. Like, yes,
yeah.
let's go,
Yeah, let me process deep trauma in a group of 300 people with a
I mean, why not?
yeah, with a
Just turn
little
off the
Indian
light.
man. Yeah.
But also, like, what your wife is doing, like, how cool is that? That a song can trigger something, That's
Yeah,
super interesting.
yeah, we played around with it at some live recordings pre-pandemic where she was recording for her podcast at the time.
Mm,
And so if you were in the room, you got the meditation and then everyone else got to listen to the recording from it. But
huh,
um, that
cool.
was one of my favorite. I can't remember what company it was. There was a company that paid us, and that was their health and wellness for their employees.
Oh, wow.
And and it was all around. I think she was interviewing somebody about fertility and like nutrition, and
Hmm,
then did that inside of that space. It was fascinating.
that's super
So
cool. Yeah, I had no idea that she was, like, this a cappella singer. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You would not guess it. She so this is one of those funny things. She didn't let me know she sang when we started dating.
Really?
She would not allow me to listen to her. I could not go to a concert because she had this persistent fear that people would only love her for her voice. And then after we started dating, she stopped singing because she was afraid. But she'd had some experiences where, like, that after a show, some guy would be like, "Oh my god," and she's like, "I don't
Oh,
wanna be
yeah,
near you," you know? So,
crazy. Yeah.
so that was kind of interesting, and she just started singing again for the first time in
Oh,
years, and
that's
so,
amazing. That's
yeah.
like that's so interesting though. She's like, "You cannot go to any of my
I I
my
wasn't allowed. No, we had to be official before I got to see her on
like, you
stage.
need to, like, love me and for
Yeah.
my mind and everything, and then, like, you can hear my voice, and we can go from there."
Yeah, yeah. It's like Little Mermaid, but in real life.
Yeah, seriously. Wow, that's super cool. I love it. So your kids play instruments, but do they also sing?
They primarily I mean, playing instruments is generous. They're 3 and 6.
Yeah, they're little.
So, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
but
playing.
they'll sit there for hours, like, playing with it.
Yeah,
So, uh, they both have electric guitars. Um,
stop. I love this
and,
so
yeah,
much.
like, full size, and they'll just sit it on the lap and pluck, but they sing all the time.
Huh.
Luckily, they don't have my voice. Like, I was in the choir that they allowed you in if you couldn't sing. That was me. The participation trophy choir, that was yeah. I
That's
I
amazing.
was the business manager, not even like one of
They're
the
like
participation
they're
trophy
like, "We
choir.
accept you,
Yeah.
but we think you should manage the choir."
Yeah, 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 I was in the gospel choir, and I got to sing, like, 4 notes, like,
That's
it was
amazing.
great. But both of them sing, and so they'll run around and sing, The Greatest Showman hits,
Oh, such a good
um,
album.
and, like, all of the songs, and at 3 years old, Emily's got, like, the right inflections on the, "Oh," like and when they were younger, they did a better job of matching pitch. Now it's a little rough, but,
Yeah,
like, um,
so
enthusiastic, but rough.
they
But,
just they need some work, they need some training,
yeah,
to be fun,
exactly,
and
yeah,
then
but he was in Finding Nemo the musical,
so
uh,
cute.
and so they're having fun.
I
Um,
mean, what's, like, better than, like I was actually talking to somebody about this the other week, like, when a little kid, like, picks their favorite song for the first time and, like, the
yeah,
joy of watching them experience that music,
yeah.
it is, like that's, like, pure joy. It's, like, the coolest thing, you know?
His favorite is Party in the USA,
Of course it is. I mean, why not?
and yeah, and so, yeah, he knows how to find it on YouTube,
Oh,
and
wow.
we'll walk in and he'll he'll have it
It'll be
playing, and he's
Party
just
in the
singing and
USA.
dancing, yeah,
I love
so
it. There's this, s a song, it's more like electronic-y, it's called Gummy Bear, it's a children's song, but it's like, uh, I think it's a German, like, these German artists, and my niece loves this song, and apparently it's, like, trending amongst 3 and 4-year-olds. So when we were in Nashville, over the holidays, last year, it was like that song, if I even, like, said the name of it, my sister and brother-in-law were like 'cause then she'd be like, "Put on Gummy Bear," and then you just be,
Yeah.
like, dancing to, like, electronic, like, Gummy Bear music with your 3 or 4-year-old, like, niece. It's pretty amazing. But I was like,
Yeah,
"This this could drive you insane, even though it's making them so happy." It was pretty solid. Yeah.
yeah,
But
that's
it is
awesome.
interesting what they get into.
Yeah, back when he was 2, he did during the pandemic, he did a collaboration with a singer-songwriter where he would talk about something, and then she would turn it into a song,
Oh my god, that's so
and
cool.
we recorded them on Zoom, but I don't think we ever did anything with it.
I mean, you should
But she
totally
wrote a whole album from his conversation. It was pretty cool.
like, what
Yeah.
a cool project with your 2-year-old.
Yeah, yep.
Jeez.
So he would talk about, like, his giant pink stuffed animal and his, like I don't even know what it was, but then it would become a song, and I'll have to track it down. It
Yeah,
was pretty
that's really
pretty interesting.
cool. And,
Yeah.
also, I feel like what a cool thing to be able to share with him when he's a little bit older, to be like,
Yeah.
"This was a project that we did with you where, like, literally the things that you were super into got turned into, like, song lyrics." That's really fun.
Yeah.
Coolest parent, done.
Oh,
I
we
love
just
it.
do weird stuff. It's great.
I mean, it's cool because they're always experimenting, and like you're
Yeah.
giving them the freedom to like, feel that they can do that, which is a pretty special thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I try to let them do whatever they're interested in. Like, Emily's favorite thing is cars.
Hmm.
And so I got a local mechanic to agree that in the spring when it's warmer, she can sit outside of his shop and watch him work on the cars.
Oh my God, so
And
fun.
and that's gonna be awesome. Like, he's gonna take apart a car and show her the engine,
I
and
love
she'll be,
that.
like, right outside the bay.
I mean, and how
So,
cool. Like, hopefully she'll get
yeah.
into it and then she'll be able to like take care of her own like stuff, She'll
Yeah.
learn
Well,
how
she
to
makes me turn the engines on. I have 2 Ford Focuses. One is, like, old and
uh,
doesn't r run all that well, and then one is, like, perfectly new,
yeah.
and, she makes me turn them on and rev the engines so she can watch them work and, like, compare them, and
What?
so, like,
Something
at 3, I figure I'm just gonna let her go with that 'cause that like,
seriously.
this is awesome, and all she does is race cars. Like, she's downstairs right now racing cars, so
I love it.
I'm for it.
I can't wait to see her be like a race car driver or something, or like run like a
Yeah,
race team or,
that and we don't talk about Bruno is
Oh, fair,
Yeah,
fair. So fun.
yeah.
They're the coolest.
Um,
Well, we're coming up on a full hour here, so or I think we're already past a full hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Guys, that was
yep,
fast.
yeah,
Thanks for letting me chat with you.
absolutely. This
yeah,
has
it
been
was really good to have
very
you on.
interesting. Yeah, I don't
Thanks.
talk
Yeah.
about music very much, and it's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like more people need to talk about music. Come on. And you guys need to go to more shows. So we'll
Yeah.
plan
Yeah,
some
yeah,
shows. I would love that. And thanks, yeah,
yeah,
thanks for letting me have the time.
I gotta meet do you know, OAR, of a Revolution with, Ben
Oh,
Gershman
yeah.
is the bass player? Yeah. So,
Cool.
I was talking with him about a project he's working on, and he invited me to his show, and now I've gotta, like, make that happen.
Yes,
I
you
I
need
think
to
that'll
go.
be really cool, but,
They're a great
it's gonna be a
vibe.
good show.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah,
be a fun one. So make
yeah.
that happen. Get a babysitter. Do it.
Yeah,
I love
we'll drop him off at the grandparents and
There
call
you
it
go.
good. So, um,
Okay, and well, Amber, thank you, and for everyone who's following the stream and listening. We're trying to do this every Friday at some point on Friday, or around lunchtime. And we've been doing it at 2 o'clock the last few times, but hopefully we'll get closer to noon so you can sit with your sandwich and listen to an interesting conversation. Thanks for tuning in, and follow Mouth Media Network to get notified about the next live stream here.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, really good to
yeah,
see you and to catch up and see you soon, hopefully.
Awesome.
definitely.
All right.
Alright.
Bye, guys.